Hi, and this is Rick, and welcome to my first ever Record Store Day video. I've been collecting Record Store Day releases for a couple of years now, but I've never done any videos. I do enjoy watching them on YouTube, and I get a great kick out of it. The tough thing about living in Asia is you don't get them on time, and you have to wait sometimes a couple of weeks before you get your hands on these stuff, and by then it's not so relevant. So I'm not doing a drop two or drop one for Record Store Day 2020. Instead, I'll talk about my favorite releases in the last couple of years. So I'm going to go back all the way to 2018, or that is. Okay, here, Santana, the Woodstock release. And like many other people all over the world, this was their introduction to this band from San Francisco. Now, at the time of Woodstock, I was just way too young for that one. I was like 3 years old, thereabouts. So I only knew of Santana when I got about probably 9 years older from that point. And I didn't really get into Santana until a few years later when I was in high school, because by then they had newer hits in the American Top 40. But I had to backtrack, and I learned of them in Woodstock. And I do have the original Woodstock release, but this one contains a complete set, and this is absolutely one of my favorites. I knew I just had to have this as a massive Santana fan. Another release that I truly enjoy is this one, the special release mono version of Piper at the Gates of Dawn. I'm a massive Pink Floyd fan, and I have to be very honest, I became a fan of the band during the time of The Dark Side of the Moon. But I backtracked all the way to some of the earlier releases, and this one is just so amazing. It's such a mind trip, if you will, and I love it. I love that it comes in this special packaging in gold foil, and it's got a poster inside. So this one I knew I had to have. All right, and there's this Linkin Park, One More Light live, and you're not going to see it because I have to remove the plastic though, the plastic wrap. But it's actually signed by Mike Shinoda. When Mike performed here in Manila, I asked him to sign it, and he did sign a couple of Linkin Park albums. So this one's all the more special. I wanted to have this because these were the last recordings of Chester Bennington with the band, and as a Linkin Park fan, I knew I had to have it. And plus, this is signed by Chester. Last year, 2019, was an amazing year for releases, and I thought that they came out with a lot of stuff, especially the soundtracks. And here's one, The Crow, first time in vinyl. When The Crow, the comic book, first came out, I was able to get it. And it was kind of crude, the artwork of James O'Barr, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it because it had this punk rock gothic feel to it, and I loved it. When the film came out with the late Brandon Lee, I was just blown away by that film, that I got it on DVD and on Blu-ray. And of course, when the CD came out, I thought it was one of the best soundtracks ever. And it was a shame that it wasn't on vinyl. So when this came out, yes, I know it was expensive, but I had to have this one. So there, I'm happy to have this in my collection. Another soundtrack from last year is I Am Sam. I love this because these are different takes on songs by the Beatles. Plus, I love the film. And the cover versions here are absolutely some of the best I've ever heard. My favorites on this album, obviously, Amy Mann and Michael Penn, the two of us. Sarah McLachlan's Blackbird. I love Rufus Wainwright's Across the Universe, The Wallflowers, I'm Looking Through You. You know, what's not to like in this album? I practically like a lot, everything. The Vines doing I'm Only Sleeping, you know, that was really great. And the Black Crowes doing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. there's just really a lot of good stuff here. Even Nick Cave was the perfect way to end this soundtrack with Let It Be. So there. And since we're on the topic of soundtracks, here's another one. Lost in Translation. And this is a repress. This came out in vinyl also at the time when the film first came out. But I did buy the CD. I grew up a vinyl fan, but towards the 90s, when the 90s set in, I shifted to compact discs. I'd buy a couple of records every now and then, usually the punk rock ones, the hardcore ones. But it was only around 2014 that I started buying vinyl once more, but slowly. I think it really picked up by 2016. And this one was a must-have because the original pressing is so pricey, but this in itself is pricey as well. And I love it. I love it because I'm a massive fan of shoegaze. And, you know, this was like the return of My Bloody Valentine. And were it not for this soundtrack, I don't think My Bloody Valentine would have reunited. So it's one of my favorites. Speaking of favorites, Pearl Jam Unplugged. Okay, from MTV. And I'm a fan of Pearl Jam. I'm not going to say I'm the biggest fan of Pearl Jam. I'm a fan. I have a lot of their stuff. But watching them on MTV that day, that was one great performance. And I'm so happy they put this on wax because I just have to have this. And here's something. Joe Satriani surfing with the alien. It's a bloody shame that they took the Silver Surfer off the cover following this dispute with Marvel. But what makes this record great is that the other side is stripped of the guitar parts of Joe Satriani, so you can actually play along to this record, and it's really great. I do have the original pressing of this one, so it works side by side with that one. I'm just so happy to have this. There are a few more records I want to show from Record Store Day, and there are a couple more actually that I really love, and they're from this year's Record Store Day. The first one that I want to show is this one, The Cure, Mudflowers. When this came out 16 years ago, I got it since I'm a Cure fan. I'm a massive fan of The Cure, and I gravitated towards it immediately because of its dark and heavy tones, and it reminded me of Pornography and Disintegration, and true enough, it was part of that so-called trilogy of The Cure. And except that I got it on compact disc, I did not buy the vinyl. So getting the vinyl later on was so tough that when they repressed this for Record Store Day this year, I just had to have this. This was absolutely on top of my list. I wanted to have this because I think it's a great record, and I'm a fan of that gothic and heavy music of The Cure. All right, the last record I want to show you that I'm happy to have in my RSD collection is the 40th anniversary of Dance Craze, the Best of British Ska Live. And this is a half-speed master, and the recording, the remastering is just so much better. There's some more full sound to it, a richer and a deeper sound to it than the original records. I do have the original British, American, and Japanese pressings, including the DVD, so this works right well with that collection. And, you know, as soon as I got this, I played it over and over because I love the sound. It's a thicker sound, you know, and it's just great music. This record actually opened me more to Jamaican music, and I'm forever indebted. Although I knew Bob Marley, but I never really backtracked until Dance Craze, and I got into dub, rocksteady, and all that. So I was looking for all this stuff, and made me fall in love with Jamaican music. So there, these are my absolute favorites from the last couple of Record Store Days. I do have others, probably around 30 or more records from Record Store Day, but these are my absolute favorites, and I just wanted to share that with you. So let me see if I can do a few more of these videos. Thanks for watching.